The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome into episode 14 of Mossy Creek Conversations. I'm your host for this episode, Michael Watrang, and we bring in a two-time All-South Atlantic Conference pick, a former 10th-round pick of the Atlanta Braves, Brett Langhorne. Brett, thanks so much for hanging with me here. Looking forward to catching up here with you a little bit.
Of course, Michael. Glad to be here.
Let's go back to your youth, because a lot of times there are athletes that set their sights on a particular sport, or maybe you play a couple different sports. When did you first think baseball is a sport that I really want to spend time with, and this was the sport that I'm going to fall in love with?
That started when I was really young. My dad played college baseball. He played a little bit of professional baseball. My older brother, we're 6 years apart. He played baseball growing up. I tried other sports. I played football and basketball. I wrestled a little bit and stuff when I was younger. But just from a young age, I just always knew baseball was going to be kind of that one for me.
How would you describe what it was like growing up? Because baseball, I feel like, kind of with basketball, with the AAU circuit, but baseball is one of those sports where it's almost year-round. You have a lot of showcases, travel circuit. What was that like for you during your young days?
Yeah, it's crazy how it is now. I mean, when I was younger is when the travel baseball and stuff like that really started to pick up, where teams are playing all year round. And, we would play tournaments every weekend in the summer and then take maybe a month off and then have 4 or 5 more in the fall and stuff like that, just to get as much exposure as you can. And it was a big part for me because, I just played a little bit of high school baseball, and not a lot of coaches are coming to high school games. So just being able to get on that circuit and playing everywhere we could in the summers and fall is what really helped me.
You mentioned that your father played college baseball, had an opportunity with the Kansas City Royals as well. What did he teach you about the game?
He taught me everything. I mean, from a young age, he was taking me out to hit, taking me out to get ground balls, stuff like that. He actually coached my travel teams growing up. He coached my brother's travel teams growing up. And just from a very young age, having my older brother and having my dad there, like that just really kind of put me on track to be playing baseball. I knew probably 6th or 7th grade, I wanted to play professional baseball. And I would play other sports and stuff like that because they were fun, but all of my focus went to baseball kind of around that age.
You keep mentioning the fact that you did have a younger brother, and of course your dad was a coach. What kind of advantage did that give you to be able to have somebody in the family younger than you that probably always wanted to be out in the yard throwing the baseball around, but also having your father so ingrained into that? How big of an advantage was that for you, as you basically had a year-round opportunity to get better?
Oh, it was amazing. He's actually older. He's an older brother, but having him and my dad, on my case all the time, trying to make me better and stuff like that. There would be times where we'd get in some arguments and stuff like that. But, even when my dad wasn't there, my brother wasn't there, one of them is always, if I'm having a bad game or something, or pouting or something like that, they're both always there to get me going again.
Let's walk into your high school days now, and part of that recruiting process. When did you first start getting some recruiting letters, and how did you go about the opportunities that you had to try to narrow down a list of schools that you would eventually choose from?
So it was a little interesting because I started getting some attention around my sophomore year of high school, that summer, that travel ball summer. And I was going around to different schools just in Virginia, and I was looking at University of Richmond, VCU, stuff like that. And my dad played at the University of Richmond, so I kind of always wanted to go there. I actually committed to the University of Richmond my sophomore year, and was going to committed to go play there. And then towards the end of my high school career, their coach got let go, and I just kind of opened up my recruiting again. And that's when a few other bigger schools came in, and that's when I ended up going to Tennessee.
You mentioned Tennessee. and the fact that you ended up there for a couple seasons. But walk me through why you elected to become a Tennessee Volunteer. What was it about that school that ultimately won you over and got you an opportunity there straight out of high school?
Well, so I ended up going to a showcase. It was the East Coast Pro Showcase. It's a big one around the East Coast side of the country. And I went there uncommitted. And that's when the few schools started following me. And it was kind of down between Pitt, North Carolina, and Tennessee. And it was just something about going to Knoxville and just the feel we had there. And I was the only infielder in my class, so I knew going there would be a good opportunity for me to play. You know, some of these other schools, they over recruit because they get gutted by the draft, so they got a lot of guys. They got to sign a lot of guys, but Tennessee wasn't like that. I was the only infielder in my class, so it just felt like a really good fit to go in there and play right away.
So you walk onto campus there your very first season. I'm sure just like anything, you get into SEC baseball, you start to see a lot of that talent. How did you grow as a player just in the offseason getting ready for your rookie year?
Oh, it was amazing. I was able to get down to campus early in the summer to take some classes to get ahead a little bit, and just being acclimated with the campus and what all is going around, what our day is going to be like early was a real blessing for me. And just going into that first fall, it was great. It was a big difference. But I was just able to take some of those adjustments and try to get into a little bit of a flow in the fall and trying to work that, keep that momentum in the winter, taking it on into the spring.
What was maybe your favorite moment or a favorite memory that you have from your 2 seasons that you spent there?
It has to be my freshman year. My freshman year, we had a really talented team, but didn't do too well in the standings. And we were going into our very last weekend playing Mississippi State at home, and we had to sweep them to make it into the SEC tournament. We hadn't swept anybody all year. We hadn't come from behind all year. I think we were 0-18 or something in games where we were losing after the 7th inning. So we go and we beat Mississippi State Friday. We beat them Saturday. So we're like, okay, we just need Sunday and we're into the tournament. And we're down 2-0, I think, the whole game going into the 9th inning. And then something just happened. We got a little bit of a rally going, ended up walking off Mississippi State in the bottom of the 9th. To finish the sweep and to end up in the SEC tournament, which was just amazing for that team, like what we'd been through that year and all that stuff. And just to not sweep anyone the whole year, not come from behind the whole year, and then come back in the last series of the year to sweep them and make it in the SEC tournament was pretty cool.
It's a little foreshadowing there. We'll get into your Carson-Newman career because something similar happened once you walked onto Carson-Newman's campus. But one player that sticks out from those Tennessee teams was Nick Sunzell. He ended up being the number 2 overall pick in 2016 to the Cincinnati Reds. What do you learn as a player on a team like that, not just necessarily from him, but from seeing players in the SEC, because typically the SEC is one of the best, if not the best in the entire country when it comes to baseball? What do you take away as a player seeing a guy every single day that eventually becomes the number 2 overall pick, and then throughout games, seeing what it takes to make it not just to pro baseball, but to the big leagues?
Watching Nick was amazing. Those two years there. I mean, that guy's work ethic was second to none. He had a great head on his shoulder. I mean, it was strictly baseball for that guy. So I was able to learn a lot from him, just how to carry myself, and he helped me a lot with my work ethic as well. But just seeing there's a lot of guys like that in that SEC ranking there, a lot of big players that go high in the draft, and being able to play with some of those guys, made me realize like I can play with these guys. I struggled a little bit while I was there, and didn't feel like that I could play there, but being able to play with some of those guys was really eye opening to make me realize like that I'm able to play with these guys.
After 2 seasons in Knoxville, you made the decision to transfer What went into that decision for you?
To be honest with you, I was about ready to move back home and just finish out my career there. Maybe a D2 or D3 around somewhere around home. I wasn't feeling the greatest about baseball after that second year. And then my dad just called me up and was like, "Hey, there's a coach at Carson-Newman wants you to come there." I was like, "All right, I'm going." Hadn't talked to Griff, hadn't seen the campus, nothing like that. So I was pretty fortunate that Griff was able to give me that opportunity, and he said the same thing. He called me up and was wanting to get me on campus for a visit, look around, talk to him and stuff like that. And I was just like, "Coach, I'm coming. I'm going to come play there. You don't even have to say nothing. I'm coming."
That's pretty amazing that you weren't even looking at the campus, that knew nothing about it, but made the decision.
Never heard of the school, never heard of it before in my life. And yeah, I was ready to move home. I was ready to go back there and just kind of finish out didn't think professional baseball was really an opportunity at that time. But I was lucky enough that Griff wanted me there and gave me a call.
You filled in nicely at third base. What kind of adjustment was it for you once you went from life in the SEC to now a Division II school? What was that adjustment like?
It was a little bit tough at first. I knew I had kind of a target on my back, coming from a school like that. So I knew maybe put a little bit more pressure on myself, because I knew going down a level that I would have to put up, more numbers. And that's kind of where Griff helped me with that. I didn't have to worry about if I was going 0 for 4, if I was going to be playing the next day, or if I had a bad game, if I wasn't going to play for another 2 weeks. So just having that confidence that Griff had in me to leave me in there. Because I don't know if you remember that first month, that first year was pretty rough. But after getting through that and Griff having confidence in me, it just helped me kind of get out of that slump I was in and just play to the abilities I know I can play.
I actually wrote that down. Your first month, you hit a $140, and
Yeah.
I think you had 6 hits that first month. And
yeah, it was tough.
I'm sure for you, like you said, you got a target on your back, regardless of any of your skill, your size, your stature, anything. When somebody looks at a roster and sees, "Oh, he went to Tennessee. Oh, this guy must be, a world beater." And then for a month at a Division II level, he hit a $140, and people are probably thinking, This guy's overrated. He's not any good. But right after that, I think you hit 300, 320 plus the rest of your career every single month the rest of the way. You ended that season hitting 375 the rest of the year. How much did the opportunity to play every day, you only missed 1 game in your entire 2 seasons at Carson-Newman, allow you to kind of rekindle that fire that you had maybe from high school back into your life there in your junior year, month number 2?
Yeah, it was incredible getting to, like, after those struggles, and then just it only took a few games to get it going. Once I started getting going, I was able to finally just kind of relax and say, "Okay, like, I know you're a good player. I know what I can do in this game," and it just really helped settle me down a little bit. And then from there, it just felt like I was playing, like I was in high school summer ball, just playing the game, having fun playing the game, got a good group of guys around you. And it was able to help save my career. And it was, kind of eye opening, just the different atmosphere we had on that team and how everybody's joining in, everybody's contributing and stuff like that. It was just a really nice change of pace.
Would it be a fair assessment to say that when you're in the SEC, there's pressure on every single pitch, because that might potentially be the pitch that locks you into a high MLB draft pick or something like that, versus at the Division II level where you can basically go out there, have a little bit of fun, and there isn't as much pressure on you on a pitch-to-pitch basis?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was great to just play. And we just had a good group of guys at Carson-Newman that all loved the game. They all loved to play. And just that type of energy in a dugout, in a locker room, is going to help everybody flourish. And, we had some guys, that worried about themselves, they worried about their draft stock and stuff. And guys are just kind of playing for themselves. But it is a a lot more intense. It is a pitch by pitch. You know, every pitch matters. Every little detail matters in those games, and it was a lot of pressure. And but moving down and just being able to just play the game that I love and not have to worry about stuff like that was just the biggest change in the world.
Maybe one of the biggest highlights of your career came in the conference baseball tournament. You guys were in a play-in game against Coker. It was a back-and-forth pitcher's duel. You step to the plate in the 8th inning and roast one down the line that proves to be the game-winning RBI double. What do you remember from that game?
That was a great game. I do remember that. I remember actually being a little bit nervous when that game started, but I was able to just calm the nerves again. And I'd had some good at bats going up into there, into that last at bat, and the couple weeks leading up, I'd gotten pretty hot, so I was feeling really good at the plate at that time. And I remember they brought in their closer, who had some pretty good numbers, sidearm guy, and I was just kind of looking for something in that middle end area, and that's where a guy kind of threw a slider in there and was able to just kind of hook it down the line.
That kick-started a run all the way to the championship round. You went all the way to face off against LMU in the championship round. Why was that team so special, and what made that run special for you?
We just had a lot of good older guys, like all the older guys, all those seniors. I think our whole lineup was seniors except for me. And those guys, the way they played the game, you know, they knew it was their last year. They knew they probably weren't going to play baseball beyond this, and just the way those guys came together and the way our whole team came together throughout that run was just incredible. And that's what good teams do. That's what teams that have good locker rooms, good dugouts, good camaraderie, those kind of teams can make those type of runs. If you don't have that kind of chemistry on your team, you're going to be kind of a one and done in those type of situations. And that's what was able to help, I think, us make that run. Is these guys were just playing just to play. You know, they were all play. They knew it was there, then they were just going out there and having fun and playing the game that they love. And that's what was so special about it.
You didn't bat an eye going into your senior season. You opened up the year with 4 multi-hit games in your first 5. Now knowing that a lot of those seniors had graduated, what did you do to make sure that you were able to continue that hot streak, roll it over into your final campaign?
Well, a lot of that came from Griff. Griff, working with Griff every day and stuff, and just helping with my mental side of the game, you know, just relaxing and not trying to put any pressure on myself or nothing like that, and just going out and just playing the game. And that's what I was able to do my junior year. And I was just going into my senior year feeling so good about myself and good about our team and what we were able to do. And I knew we had good guys, we had good pitchers, good hitters. We had a good lineup and stuff. And I was able to just really not think about anything and just go out and play.
When did you first get a sense that year's group had a chance to be potentially just as good as the year before? Because you guys end up finishing that season 3rd in the conference standings. You sweep Tusculum to end the season. But when did you start to get that sense that, hey, this year's group has a chance to, you know, maybe do something that was even better than the year before?
Yeah, I knew it going in. I knew we had some good arms. You know, we had Gardner on the mound. We had a lot of good arms, a lot of good young guys, which was big. We had some young guys stepping into that lineup that hadn't played college baseball or anything like that, and they were good players, and they didn't let the pressure or anything get to them. You know, they just came in and they stepped up right away. Matt Bradley, I can think of. I mean, he was huge in that season. You know, pitching and hitting. Just young guys stepping up with that core older group that we had was really big. And I could see that from the fall going right into the spring. It was amazing.
When did you had mentioned just earlier that you had kind of stopped thinking about playing professional baseball, but as we mentioned, you get drafted a couple months after your career comes to an end. When did you first get the sense, hey, there's some scouts looking at me, and I do have a shot to potentially play pro ball?
Well, it's always been a goal of mine to play professional baseball. And once I got into Carson-Newman, I knew if I put up decent numbers, I knew I was going to have a shot at the end of my senior year to get drafted. But just instead of thinking about that, I wanted to just think about playing the game. And that's what I think helped me so much, because I was always focused on, getting drafted and putting all that. And that just put kind of extra pressure on myself. All right, you got to make sure you put up these type of numbers to get to this position. But then going in my junior year and just playing and not having a care in the world, just going out there and playing the game, and then rolling that into my senior year was pretty special. And I had some guys looking at me my junior year, but I knew it wasn't going to happen that year. So going into my senior year, I kind of had a good idea that I would at least get picked up late or something like that, as long as I had somewhat of a decent year, which I was able to have a pretty good year and get that opportunity, which was great.
We mentioned the fact that when you're in the SEC, you pretty much have a scout there, if not multiple scouts at almost every single game. Well, at the Division II level, it almost needs to be appointment viewing for those scouts. They need to know who they're coming to see, and typically they only stay for maybe a couple innings. Does that add a little bit of pressure, knowing, hey, maybe there's somebody looking at me and this at bat? If I don't do something special here, maybe that scout will say, yeah, seen the guy, can't do it, move on, and that might be your only situation. Does that add pressure for you?
Yeah, it adds a little bit. And you can see the guys will get the cameras out. They'll go down, first base line or third base line to film your at bats. And you notice it. You can see them over there, and it's in the back of your mind that, okay, you want to do something good here. But every time just stepping into the box, you just try to just clear all that and just make sure you just put a good swing on something. And I know deep in my head that's all they're really looking for. They're looking for, okay, making sure you got a good swing, or if you strike out, how do you react to your strikeout and stuff like that. So it's for me, it was more just trying to keep a good headspace and make sure that I wasn't, if I struck out, I wasn't, throwing my bat or throwing my helmet or something like that, or if I had a bad game, making sure I didn't get that game into the next game, because they look at stuff like that. But I was just making sure if I knew guys were there, I was just trying to take it still pitch by pitch and make sure I just was able to put a good swing on something good.
One of the things that always impressed me about you was exactly what you were just saying, that mindset that if you had a bad at bat, you didn't chuck your helmet, you didn't get upset, at least, for everybody else to see. You might have been internally frustrated about it, but you didn't let everybody else know about it. And same deal. If you hit a home run, you'd get excited about it, but you wouldn't go over the top. Where did that mentality come from?
That came from probably my dad, my older brother, just instilling that on me. And because I was pretty bad with it when I was in high school. If I had a bad game or something, I was a wreck, or I would go hit a bunch of balls off a tee or something just out of frustration and stuff like that. My dad, my brother would come tell me, they're like, dude, like, you've got thousands of more at bats in your future. It's going to happen. It happens to everybody. Mike Trout strikes out 4 times in a game. It happens to everyone. And especially now being in professional, you play every day, and even in college, you're playing 4 games a week, so one at bat or one game is not going to change anything. And especially if guys are watching, if you carry that first at bat, you strike out, you carry it into your next at bat, it's only going to snowball and make it even worse. So it was just trying for me to, if I had a bad game or bad at bat, was just to clear it and just try to move on to the next one, because it's already over and there's nothing I can do about it. So to able to keep that sort of mindset is going to help you in the future.
Very rarely does a Division II school get a multitude of players drafted, but you were a benefactor of that, because Will Gardner eventually got drafted about 11 rounds later to the Pittsburgh Pirates. How much did that help you, seeing one of your teammates who had a very similar story to you, started at a Division I school, transfers back to a Division II school, go through that same process as you? How much did that help you?
Oh, it helped me a ton. Me and Will, from the second we got to campus, we were living together, and we both had the same goal in mind. We both were in the same situation. We were both at Division I school, came back to a Division II. But we both wanted to get drafted, and we kind of had a little bit of a connection from day one about pushing each other. So he would push me in the weight room or something like that. I would push him anytime during practice. We were always pushing each other because we both had that same end goal in mind. And I think that's what allowed both of us to get there, because there was just no way I was going to not let him get to that level, and there was no way he wasn't going to let me get to that level. And just having that kind of partnership there is tremendous to helping you play the game.
How much did Carson-Newman, the coaching staff, the program change your life?
It changed my life pretty drastically, because there's absolutely no way I would be playing professional baseball, getting ready for a game tonight at 7 if it wasn't for Griff at Carson-Newman. I mean, it was pretty tough after my sophomore year. I was pretty down. I was pretty much ready to hang it up, and when Griff called, gave me an opportunity. I was going right in. So I know for sure, if it wasn't for Carson-Newman, I would have a 9-to-5 job, somewhere at home probably right now, 100%.
So after 2 seasons at Carson-Newman, you played, I think, 100 of the 101 games that you could have potentially played in. You hit 325 of the 14 home runs. You stole 37 bases. How would you assess personally what you were able to accomplish in the 2 years on the field, playing mostly at the Silver Diamond Baseball Complex?
Well, if you ask me, it wasn't too great. I wish I could have done a little bit more, but no, it was fine. I just able to just hit over 300 and hit a couple home runs. That's what I was really worried about. I just wanted to kind of get those power numbers up just a little bit, and just working every day with Griff in the cages and stuff. I mean, he would pull me out of class, or not pull me out of class, but if I had any sort of little break between classes, he's pulling me down to the cage to hit, and making sure that I'm staying on top of what I need to do to get to that next level. And just all that stuff, all that training, everything we were able to do at that Silver Diamond Baseball Complex was instrumental in getting me to this level.
One of the benefits that Division I players typically have is when the draft time comes around, typically they're either still playing or their season might have just ended in the week or two prior, assuming that you make a pretty deep run in the NCAA tournament. For Division II players, your season ends, and then you got about 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how deep you're able to make it into any kind of postseason bids before you get ready.
Yeah.
When your senior year ended, what did you do as you prepared for the opportunity of the draft?
Well, I had so after the season ended, I had a few workouts lined up before the draft. I was supposed to work out with the Braves, the Royals, and the Rockies. And I had a couple, this is kind of funny. I had a couple scouts actually telling me they could see me as a catcher later on in my career, maybe not right away. So I was actually working on a lot of catching stuff with Griff. And we were doing a lot of catching, hitting, ground balls, everything I could do to help my draft stock. We were making catching videos, stuff like that. But I was just staying in Jeff City and just hitting and making sure I'm doing everything I'm doing, getting ready for these workouts. And so I went down to my first workout, which was with the Braves at their stadium in Gwinnett, and I actually did really well. I did really well at that one, and I actually had a couple scouts call me after that workout. One of the guys, Jerry Jordan, he drafted Will and Goforth, and he was around the complex a lot. And he calls me up, and it's just like, "What are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing going down there and showing out like that?" Like, he was like, "I can't have you doing that," and stuff like that, which is pretty funny. So I actually didn't even feel like I needed to go to the other workouts. One was out in Phoenix, so I didn't even feel the need to fly out. So I just went to that Braves workout, did pretty well, and that was the end of it.
Let's fast forward to draft day then, because the way that the Major League Baseball draft works is you have 3 days. It's spread across that. I'm sure you didn't feel like you were going to go there on day number 1, but day 2 is
No.
typically rounds 3 through 10 are those days. You're selected at the back end of day 2.
Yeah.
What was it like on that day? Were you expecting to go that high, and what were you doing at the time that you found out that you were going to get that opportunity?
I definitely wasn't expecting to go that high, but I know a little bit about it, and I had some scouts telling me, rounds kind of 6 through 10 are typically those money saving rounds where some teams will draft some senior guys, to save maybe some money for some other picks that they take later on to give them some more money. So I kind of had an idea it could happen on day 2. But I was watching that draft tracker on my phone. I was glued to it that whole day, and actually just wanted to get out of the house. So I went up to a Gold's Gym and was working out. Just trying not to think about it, just listening to some music, doing a little bit of workout. And I was watching it while I was in there. I was getting down to round 9, round 10 was starting. I was like, okay, it's not happening today. I'll go home and wait for it tomorrow. So then I get in the car, I'm headed home, and that's when my scout Dustin Evans called me on the way home, and was like, "Hey, we're taking you in the 10th round. Like, do you want to sign?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And it was just, I almost had to pull over the car because I was probably going to crash, but it was just such a big moment of relief just to hear him. As soon as I saw his name pop up on my phone, I just knew it, and it was just all I can really say is just a sign of relief, just pure relief.
What was it like when you did get home, you told your family, and then you got an opportunity to tell some of your friends?
Oh, it was great. I mean, my mom, dad, brother, they were beyond happy for me. I think my dad actually started crying. But just to see the work that I was putting in at a young age, and my brother putting in on me and my dad, just seeing all that work growing up kind of pay off was just the biggest thing for me. I mean, it was an amazing moment, and a moment that I'll never forget.
You get into rookie ball, you play 52 games, you hit 281. What was the biggest transition for you?
The biggest transition was just playing every single day. In college, you get a few days off during the week, and you get some time to recuperate and stuff like that. But that minor league grind, just playing every day, and that hot, humid Danville weather. I mean, it was exhausting, and that was definitely the biggest thing for me, was just trying to get that same routine every day. Some days you're going to wake up and you're not going to feel good at all. Some days you're going to wake up and you're going to feel great. But it's those days waking up when you're not feeling good. Okay, how am I gonna push myself and get through this game and excel at it, instead of just going through the motions. But that's definitely just been the toughest part with all minor league baseball. It's just that playing every day, that grind, and keeping your head straight and making sure you're staying focused and staying locked into the game every single day.
In 2019, you get the full minor league treatment, a full season with the Florida Fire Frogs. How would you describe life in the minor leagues?
It's definitely, the only way I can describe it is it's a grind. That is the only way. It is hot, it is long days, and it is exhausting, and it takes a lot mentally. It takes a lot more mentally than it does physically to stay in the game and make sure we're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. And it's like a job. It's like you're waking up, you're getting ready for work. You find a routine that works for you, and then when that game starts, it's okay. It's time for business. It's not like college where everyone is, you're trying to win every single game and you've got everyone pumping you up and stuff, and the atmosphere is good. It's more laid back. Not too worried about winning. Guys, we still play to win, but it's more development, and guys are making sure that they're playing the way they're supposed to be playing, which is another tough difference. But it can get a little bit monotonous during the season, especially those dog days, in July and August. But it's just about that mental game of keeping you on your game, making sure you're ready to play every night.
I feel like minor league baseball players were hit the hardest by the COVID shutdown because there was no season last year.
Yeah.
What was it like for you learning in March or so, April, that you weren't going to get an opportunity to play any baseball games last year?
Yeah, it was tough. We got to go down. I think we got to go down to spring training for maybe a couple of weeks to get a little taste of it. But then, yeah, once they sent us home in March, and we didn't know if it was going to be 2 days, 2 weeks, a month, a year. We had no idea how long it was going to be. So those first couple months were pretty tough. Trying to find somewhere to train, trying to find somewhere to hit was pretty tough because they could have called us any day to come back. So we're trying to, stay on top of our stuff. And I think it wasn't until about July where they told us officially we weren't going to have a season. So then after that, it was actually a little sign of relief. I was able to just kind of step back and just relax for a little while. And it was actually pretty nice. I tell people all the time, it was the first full, calendar year since I was probably 3 or 4 years old where I hadn't played a baseball game, which was pretty amazing to think. And just having that time off and just kind of reflecting on baseball and what would happen if baseball was gone, because we didn't know if we were going to come back and be able to have a season this year. So it really makes you think and getting kind of stuff in your life prioritized, just to make sure you're okay when baseball is over.
How would you describe the emotions once you were able to get back on the field this year?
No, it was amazing. Amazing. I mean, it was nice. That cord team was nice for a little while, just getting a couple months, to get a little bit of a break. But after that, I was ready to get back immediately. I was tired of hitting cages and taking ground balls on the field. I was ready to get back and play. And when we finally got back down in Florida for spring training, it was just amazing. I mean, nothing didn't matter if you were striking out or hitting hard. Like, it didn't matter. Everyone was just ready to be out there and just play baseball.
You're with the Rome Braves right now. How would you define how this season has started off for you?
It started off good for us so far. I'm off to a little bit of a slow start, but it's picking up. It's starting to feel a little bit better. But we got a great group of guys here. We got a really good team, actually. We're probably one of the better teams in this league. And all the guys are just going out and playing, like I've been saying, like, we're just out having fun. The atmosphere here in Rome is great. We've had some big games already. I had a walk-off win the other night, and just the atmosphere, just being back, having fans in the stands, having that atmosphere. There's nothing like it. There's no other feeling like going out and hitting a home run or striking a guy out or something like that on this stage. And it's been really nice, really good. Our team's really kind of rolling right now, and it's looking like it's going to be a pretty fun, pretty good season.
You're one of the 4 Carson-Newman players right now in affiliated baseball in the minor leagues, and then, of course, Steve Cishek with the Los Angeles Angels. How much do you stay in contact, not just necessarily with the Carson-Newman guys, but some of your other friends that are having the same opportunities as you to play pro ball?
Oh, it's like a family, minor league baseball. It's you play against guys multiple years in a row. You start to build friendships with guys on other teams and stuff like that. As far as other guys, like me and Will keep in touch pretty often. Greg and Go Forth, we all still keep in touch, making sure, checking in on how everybody's doing, how their season's going. Hopefully Go Forth will get moved up here in a little bit and we can play against each other. But it's just like one big family. All these guys, we all we're going through. We know how tough it is to get through this season. So just building those relationships and stuff like that, it's what helps get you through it.
I'll get you out of here on this. How would you describe, you talked about the development of minor league baseball. How would you describe how much you've developed from the time that your time ended at Carson-Newman to where you're at now as a baseball player?
Oh, it's been tremendous. I think just the guys that the guys and coaches we have here are outstanding, and I've actually have had a little bit of a change in my hitting philosophy. Getting from college to here, and just trying to stick with what I'm doing. And it's not it's not always about, getting hits and stuff like that. Those will come, but it's really helped on my mental side and, my physical side being in pro ball. And I think I can't stress enough, like more of the mental side of it. Because, in college you're playing to win every day. Everyone's pumped up to be there. Everyone's pumped. You got to win this one game. And then now in pro ball being a little more laid back, and people aren't as pumped every game and stuff. It's more of an even keel kind of business like atmosphere. Has really kind of helped change my mental side of it and help me kind of just make sure I'm staying with myself and staying with my routine, and just making sure I'm ready to play every night. And it's the development side is just tremendous. I mean, we've got guys coming in and out all over. If you got a problem with your swing, I mean, they're there to help you 24 hours a day. And it's really nice to be in a situation where you can focus on one thing and just focus on the game and not have to really worry about anything outside of that.
Brett, you've been extremely generous with your time. Thank you so much. Best of luck as you move forward with your pro career.
Absolutely. Thank you, Watching.
He's Brett Langhorne, a two-time All-South Atlantic Conference pick, the highest drafted position player in Carson-Newman history, and a member of the Rome Braves. I'm Michael Watrang here on episode 14 of Mossy Creek Conversations.